Hey everyone, in this session let's understand what is pivoting of a data frame. The meaning of pivot is to turn or rotate. There are two methods in Pandas by which we can pivot a data frame. The very first method is pivot. It allows us to restructure a data frame by turning rows into columns and columns into rows. You can see the same thing in this picture. What is the syntax for it? We have to provide the index column, the new columns and the values we want to display. We will see it in action when we will be writing some code in Jupyter Notebook. Pivot table is another method which is more powerful than pivot. Pivot table allows us to restructure, aggregate and summarize a large data frame. This pivot and pivot table are very powerful tool for a data analyst to analyze the data of a data frame. For pivot table, along with index and columns, we can also pass aggregation function to this method. Apart from these three parameters, there are a number of parameters pivot table can take. For details, you can consult with the Pandas official documentation. Now let's go to the Jupyter Notebook and write some code. Let's understand what is pivot and what is pivot table there. I have created a Jupyter Notebook called tutorial pivot table in Pandas. Here we will see how we can use pivot and pivot table methods in Pandas. As we will be using Pandas methods, we have to import Pandas package in our notebook. Once that is done, I have a data set related to air quality and UV index for some Indian cities. Let's see what is there within this CSV file. If you see here, for some dates, we have region and city and corresponding air quality index and UV index. In air quality index, if index is more, that means air pollution is more. Similarly, in UV index, if index is more, that is more harmful. Using pivot method, we are passing the index as date, columns as city and values are of two columns, air quality index and UV index. Now let's see the output so that you can clearly understand how we have rotated the data frame to get some meaningful information out. We have modified the structure of the data frame here. For each date, what is the air quality index for all four cities are showing here. What is the UV index for all four cities are showing here. Using this, a data analyst can easily consume the whole information and analyze the data in a better way. That means using pivot method, we could restructure the data frame by moving few of the rows into column. Pivot table has more to offer than pivot. Pivot table offers us to aggregate or summarize the data of a data frame. Let's see how we are using pivot table to summarize a data frame. If you see here, it is giving us the air quality index for few dates based on region. The actual data frame looks like this, where we have few regions, South India and North India, and each region has a number of cities in it. Now, using pivot table, we are evaluating the mean value of air quality index and UV index based on region. It is showing the mean value of both the cities of North India, mean value of both the cities in South India. By default, if we do not pass any aggregation function, pivot table will apply mean as aggregation function, and that is the reason you can see the mean value of air quality index and UV index for North India and South India. This time we have added aggregation function as well. By default, aggregation function is mean. So even if we do not pass any aggregation function, then also it will perform mean or average operation. That is the reason you can see the values are exactly same. Remember, there are a number of aggregation functions we can pass to pivot table. Instead of mean, we can pass standard deviation, max, mean to get the minimum value, sum to sum up all the values. Based on our use case, we will be using or applying aggregation functions accordingly. Let's summarize the session. We know pivot means to turn or rotate. There are two methods we have to remember to pivot a data frame. There is a method called pivot where we can simply restructure a data frame by turning few of the rows into columns and few of the columns into rows. There is another method called pivot table which does does something more. In pivot table, we can even aggregate or summarize the data of our data frame. Hope you have enjoyed the quick session on pivoting a data frame in Pandas. Thanks a lot for watching this video.